Well, hello, Young and the Restless Daily Recap fans. Today's weekly recap is for the week of November the 11th through November the 15th, 2024. Well, we had a little action, little movement in Young and the Restless land. We have Phyllis putting her plan into action, into, needling Sharon into making a mistake. She put it out there that she has proof, she has evidence that she's going to give to the district, the commissioner, Chance or GCPD. And Phyllis then has lunch with Lauren. She tells Lauren what her plan is, and Lauren's like, Phyllis, I just don't see Sharon doing that. I just don't. No, nobody sees Sharon doing that. And Phyllis is like, what universe am I living in? It's like, girl, you living in the universe where you faked your own death a year ago. But so anyway, Sharon, uh, when Phyllis startled her, because she goes, Phyllis, you don't have any evidence. She goes, oh, I got evidence. So you just wait for that knock on your door. Sharon's bug eyed. Nick says, Sharon, what's going on? Phyllis, you believe me, don't you, Nick? She says she has evidence, but she can't because I didn't do anything. He goes, then you don't have nothing to worry about, Sharon. Well, guess who Miss Thief, Miss Breaking and Entering expert, she decides she's going to break into Phyllis's room at the GCAC. Daniel and Heather, not Heather, sorry, Daniel and Christine are downstairs having breakfast or lunch, brunch. And Sharon goes upstairs. Now, I have a question for you all. Let's say you got a friend staying at a nice little swanky hotel, and you say, I'm going to go on down to that hotel and I'm going to break into their room. How are you going to do that? How easy is it to do? It isn't, actually. It really, really isn't. You have to now, because most hotels do have the card, you have to have a card to get into the room unless you're super sleuth spy. See, and now you can't even pick the lock because it's a card, right? Only Sharon in Young and the Restless land can walk up to somebody's room and the cleaning cart be right next to the door. And guess what? No housekeeping in sight, but she left the master key to all the rooms right there on her card for you to use. Sharon walks on up and says, hey, this is normal housekeeping card here. Oh, then here's the card to get into the room. She takes it, clicks it, puts it back down, and walks on in. That's like somebody saying, I'm gonna go to the ATM and I'm gonna hope the ATM malfunctions. And you walk up to the ATM and don't cut it in the ATM, the face of the ATM door. It's not even pushed back. So you can reach on in and take the money. Oh, come on. But look, you're stupid if you do that because it is filmed. Any kind of bank robbery, because that's what it is, y'all, is a federal offense. Just saying. I was just using that as an example. So anyway, she's in there and she's looking around. Now, where would Phyllis have something if she had it? She's looking through everything. And I said, this chick better get caught. She better get caught. Sure enough, Phyllis does walk in and she's like, well. Oh, I knew you would come. What? You are not above making fabricating evidence against me. She says, no, Sharon, you know you did it. And you are trying to make sure I don't have evidence that incriminates you, which I do. So you had to come in and see if you could get it. And Sharon says, Phyllis, that is absolutely not true. I know you, just not above framing me. And I'm just gonna go. Phyllis says, steps in front of her. You ain't going nowhere. She says, Phyllis, get out of my way. Phyllis moves in front of her. When she tries to go around her, she goes, you aren't going anywhere. And in my mind, I'm thinking this is the exact scene with Heather, right? Heather didn't want to let Sharon go. So Phyllis picks up the phone. Chance, somebody's breaking into my room. Somebody's broken in. Can you please come? Please hurry. And she looks at Sharon. She goes, you're going to have to explain yourself to Chance. And Sharon's like, I'm not going to have to explain myself to Chance because I'm not going to be here. And Phyllis is like, yeah, you are going to be here. So she goes, Phyllis. And then she goes, and she gets dizzy. I'm not feeling so well. Phyllis looked at her, cut the crap, Sharon. You're not going to use this poor woe is me to get out of nothing. So Sharon sits down and she's looking around. What am I doing? She goes, no, no. What you doing is you waiting for Chance. That's what you doing, right? And Sharon is like, I, I, oh, and she passes out. And I said, oh my goodness, here we go. What we building up to now with this passing out situation stuff. See, the same thing when she woke up, Heather was bludgeoned and bleeding. So she wakes up and Chance is sitting next to her. Sharon, are you okay, Sharon? So she, where am I? Did I pass out again? And he goes, again? She goes, oh, Phyllis, like, look, she's doing this on purpose because she knows she's caught. And so Chance says, wait, Phyllis, Sharon, has this been happening? It's happened a couple of times before in the last couple of weeks. What am I doing here? Phyllis is like, oh, you broke into my place. That's what you doing here. I mean, into my room. She goes, oh, that's right. Phyllis told me that she had evidence incriminating me, and I knew Phyllis was not above fabricating evidence. So I wanted to find out. And Phyllis says, and that's breaking and entering. So Chance says, wait, Phyllis, is this true? What kind of evidence do you have? She goes, Chance, stick to what you're here for. Sharon, who I said has been guilty all along, broke into my room to get evidence because she knows the evidence will incriminate her. So Chance says, okay, then let's see the evidence that will incriminate her. Incriminate her. And Phyllis looks, and Sharon's like, yeah. Phyllis looks, she goes, oh, I lied about that. But she didn't know I was lying. And Chance looked at her. He goes, Phyllis said, she didn't know I was lying. So she was here to get it so that I couldn't give it. Chance, I've been telling you all along. So that she is guilty. So now Sharon's like, I knew you didn't have nothing because you can't. I didn't do anything. So they're yelling at each other, pointing the hands and fingers, and Chance is like, ladies, stop it, stop it. So they were getting kind of close. So he kind of puts his hand out to separate, like, hey. As he's doing that, looking Phyllis's way, Sharon's like, and I thought she was like giggling crazy, right? And Phyllis is just looking at her, and see Chance, oh, he's too busy looking at Phyllis. Didn't see none of it. And so Sharon says, am I free to go, Chance? He goes, yes, Sharon, you're free to go. And I thought, in what world? Phyllis says, wait a minute, wait, whoa. She broke into my room. That's against the law. He says, and you're right, Phyllis. I can take her down to the station for breaking and entering if that's what you want me to do. Okay, breaking and entering. And Phyllis says, but she's a murderer. So, no, I don't want her to get arrested for just a little breaking and entering. So, fine, I won't press charges. And I thought, that was stupid. You should have pressed charges, Phyllis. See, simply because now this puts a pattern, because I can guarantee Chance was not going to go back to the station and make an incident report on this. I know, not at all. But if he would have to have arrested Sharon, that would have been a arrest trail, right? Paper trail. I just shook my head. I said, okay, see, Chance was never good at investigating nothing. No PCPD, even PCPD is General Hospital, any GCPD, neither one of them could ever solve anything. So now we have at the end of the episode, it shows a woman in a trench coat walking up to that motel room that everybody uses, the one where Phyllis killed um whatever his name was. Yeah, I can't remember his name. And it's Jordan. And then there's a man holding, looks like a Bible or some kind of book, turns around. And I recognized his face, but I couldn't quite place who was he. I know he was a bad guy. So I had to look up some information. He was the one over that cult that Nikki and Paul were in when they were young, right? It was him. So, but when I saw Jordan, I said, now I just said last week that this is November sweeps, and the young and the restless cannot come up with any kind of good award-winning storyline on their own with their own characters on the show. Last week I said, watch them try to bring in Jordan, and that's a hot shame, hot mess. If you have to bring in a woman that's not under contract just to play a villainous role for 4 weeks because your own characters in story writing can't do it, they should be disqualified from the daytime Emmys, or not daytime Emmys, the ratings, because this is sweeps month. It's ridiculous. So guess what they did? They pulled that rabbit out the hat along with another villain out the hat. See, Cameron, when Sharon killed Cameron, that was a whole nother sweeps getter. Cameron was no part of that show, and I'm like, oh my goodness, they did it again. And they feel that this scenario is gonna work and continue to work year in, year out. We got to see this woman break jail every single 4 times a year to wreak havoc. It was tired the second time she broke out of jail. See, all the Jordan scenes with this guy, I don't care what they're doing. I'm fast forwarding, y'all. Comment corner, you gonna have to write what's happening with them, because we already know this is gonna be Sharon's redemption. How? I don't know. Even if they somehow Jordan is drugging her, which is why she's blacking out. And they, in fact, are doing this. Obviously, Jordan killed Heather, or this guy did. Why? I don't know. Because wasn't it Victor Newman that had her jailed in his wine cellar like a rabid dog, giving her only vodka and maybe a little water just to keep her alive? Wouldn't you think they go after Victor? Oh, she's afraid of Victor, huh? Mm-hmm. What kind of maximum security prison that Michael had her put in doesn't notify victims or even notify the attorney when someone has escaped jail? They don't want us to think logically, y'all. They don't want us to think logically. Let me move on. Okay. Jill's back. She talks to Victor. Um, and Victor tells her why, he wants to buy the company, and Lily belongs. This is where Lily belongs, as if Victor runs every single person's life, right? That's what I don't like. She's where she belongs. You don't get to decide where I belong. Because if people could decide where other people belonged, he would have, uh, if he grew up in that orphanage, he never would have made nothing in his life because that's where he belonged. He belonged nowhere with no family. See, people get to make their own choices, even in choice of name. What's his name, real name? Christian something or other. He changed it to Victor Newman. He's a new man, right? And he was victorious. He created that. But anybody else in life, nope. It's what he chooses for them. Um, let's see. We have moving right along. Nick confronts Phyllis about continually harassing Sharon, which I can't stand Nick. Um, Jill gets a number from Victor, a nice high number from Victor of what he's asking, way above market price for Chancellor. And he says, Jill, I know your health is failing. Your health is not well. And you know your son is running it into the ground. And I'm thinking, well, Billy isn't running it into the ground. Give him a few more months for that, but okay, right? And he says, and you know Catherine would not want that. And so Jill says, okay, well, listen, with this number, tell me, Victor, who do you plan? You say Lily belongs with her family. Who do you plan on running Chancellor? And he looked at her, he says, Nikki, of course. Catherine would approve of that. And Jill sat back and she couldn't disagree with it, right? She goes, Nikki doesn't have the experience, though, of running a huge conglomerate like Chancellor. Victor said, Nikki can rise to the challenge and will have unlimited resources. Meaning, look, her husband could help her run it, period. Or he's going to staff it up with enough positions, qualified people, with the exception of Lily, to help Nikki. She's not ready to run it by herself. Victoria could. I even would venture to say Adam could. Nick could too, but he wouldn't want to. Nikki has the least experience running a huge company on her own. So anyway, Jill kind of agreed with that. And she said she would let Victor know the next day if she was going to accept the offer. And then we have, let's see, what's my next picture? It's Devon and Lily's wedding day. Ashley comes home. She was a bit nervous, but she's doing well. Abby's really happy to have her mother back. Jack and Diane are still playing their game, but now we know it is a game. Diane called, didn't show his face, but said, listen, I think I might be over my head. We may have miscalculated on this. But she kept on going, and she told Victor she wanted Glissat, to get back at Jack and Kyle. And Victor's entertaining it because he does feel like, okay, that is the ultimate stab in the back. Now, I took your son away from your company. Now I'm gonna take your wife, you know. And so Victor says, I might consider it. And Diane says, but Kyle has to go. you know, Kyle has to go. I want to be the one running Glissad. So Victor ends up telling her at the wedding He says, listen, I'll give glissade to you. He says, but you have to be the one to fire Kyle, and you have to do it tonight. And Diane looks like, oh my God, I got to fire my son twice again. She goes, you don't think I'll do it, do you, Victor? She goes, well, watch. But anyway, let's get to the wedding. I'll tell you about the firing a little bit later. Abby was so happy to have her mother and her father walk her down the aisle. She looked pretty in the dress that Sally designed for her, but it looked like a night out on the town, a formal night out dress to me. This dress did not say wedding. Now, this is Abby's third wedding. I'm not saying, the traditional white wedding dress, but I'm thinking, oh, a little bit more something. I wasn't expecting that look, right? So they walk her down to Devon. They all kiss each other. Well, Devon didn't kiss Victor, shook his hand. And Abby and Devon said their own vows to each other, which were cute. And they were pronounced man and wife. And right after, you kind of heard this bang, like not like a car crash, but you didn't know what that bang was, right? So Nick is like, what was it? Anybody hear that? What was that? Nick says, I'll go check it out because it looks like it's on the other side of the ranch, right? In that area. Because remember, this new house is on an opposite end of the ranch. The other end of the ranch has the tack house, the main house, and Sharon's house a little up the road. Or it's a tack house, Sharon's house, and the main house is furthest up the road. So Nick said, and he tells Victor, I'll keep you posted. Victor says, okay. So he said, everybody, look, Nick's going to go check it out. There's no need for it to interrupt anything. And so they get back to toasting and talking to Abby and Devon because they're talking to the guests, which is a very small amount of people. Okay, we're there. But what had happened is when Phyllis was sitting there with Lauren, Phyllis no, it wasn't with Lauren because Phyllis had all when she left Lauren and went to her room, that's when Sharon was in. Phyllis was talking to somebody. I forget who. And she got it. Oh, Daniel. And she got a text from Sharon saying, okay, I confess, you win. Meet me at my house. And so Daniel looked, he goes, what's going on? She goes, oh, nothing. I just got to do something. He goes, you didn't even eat your breakfast. She goes, I'm not hungry. Or your lunch. She goes, I'm not hungry. So she gets up and she leaves and he's like, So she's on her way to Sharon's house. Faith is at Crimson Lights with Sharon. Sharon's getting ready to go. Faith was on her way out to meet some friends. She goes, but Mom, I can just come home and we could watch, watch some kind of binge watch a movie. Or she goes, oh, you'd rather stay home and binge watch a movie with your mom than go out with your friends. She says, no, Faith. You go out and you have fun. I'm just going to go home. And she goes, Faith says, what are you looking for? Because she went in the back and she came back out looking around. She goes, I don't know where my phone is. And Faith, she goes, maybe I left my phone at home. And I'm thinking, well, Faith, the first thing when somebody says, I don't know where my phone is, what do you say? You say, let me call it. You listen, right? Listen. Oh, it's not here, Mom. Maybe it is at home. So Sharon's like, well, I'm getting ready to go. So she's leaving and she's worried about Phyllis. Like, oh, Phyllis, you got to just let this go. In her mind, she's still thinking about Phyllis. Phyllis is getting these text messages from Sharon saying, hurry up, where are you? Hurry up. She's like, oh my, wait. She throws her phone down. Oh my goodness, and her phone just kept going off and off. And Phyllis is getting irritated. So the last time she goes, oh my God, Sharon, stop texting me, right? She's thinking that. And as she puts the phone down or like flicks the phone onto the seat, She looks up and headlights are coming in her direction. And so now, of course, Phyllis is in a huge car accident, run off the road into a tree. And I'm thinking, okay, the phone wasn't in a holder, even though collision, that phone would have fell out anyway. Her phone is not going to be with her for proof that Sharon was texting her, texting her, texting her. But guess what? She doesn't need the physical proof for that, everybody. We all know what stores a text message log. It's the actual phone records. If Phyllis has to, Phyllis is able, and actually, she probably knows how to do it herself on by logging into her account, going to message history and pulling it up. Um, that's proof of she was being text back and forth, right? So anyway, Phyllis is out cold, and they show her out cold, and a fire is behind her. Fire. And I'm like, here we go. And she's knocked out. Well, then it shows Sharon waking up because Nick, on the way out of the wedding, leaving the wedding, called Chance and says, I think there's been some kind of something going on, on the other side of the ranch. Chance was supposed to be headed that way as Summer's date to the wedding. He was just running a little late. So Chance told Nick he'll meet him wherever, whatever happened at. So Sharon wakes up. Now, Phyllis's airbag was deployed. Sharon's airbag wasn't even deployed. And she woke up. She's like, where am I? What am I doing here? So she gets out of the car and she could see in the distance this glowing because she realizes she is on the ranch property, right? So she heads towards the glowing fire, right? And Nick and Chance get there, and Nick's like, Phyllis, oh my God, Phyllis. He's banging on the door. The doors are locked. Chance goes around. He's trying to pull the doors. And he goes, Chance, I can't get in. Chance says, maybe we can get a tire iron. And Nick says, there's no time for that because the fire is really starting to pick up there by her car. So Nick picks up a rock, wraps it around his jacket, and bashes in the window of Phyllis's car. So he's able to reach in, unlock, get Phyllis out. But he and Chance helps him carry her. Chance has her legs, Nick has her head, and they put her on the ground. And they're like, Phyllis, you gotta wake up, Phyllis. And so I think Nick tells her, call 911. Or Chance automatically is calling 911. Well, Sharon makes it through to where it is, and she sees, oh my God, what have I done? Oh my gosh, what have I done? I've confessed. But oh, not enough to go where they were. She heads right on away from there, right? She gets to her place. She walks through the door. Oh my God, I've killed Phyllis. Oh my God, how could I have done that? Blah, blah, blah. So not Phyllis, Nick calls Summer and tells Summer that her mother's been in an accident. Ambulance is taking her to the hospital to call Daniel to have Daniel meet her there. He would be on his way, right? And so anyway, he's gonna go to the hospital, gets a call from Sharon. Nick, I need you now, Nick. And he goes, Sharon, I mean, something has happened. I have Nick. No, I need you. I need to speak to you now. Is Phyllis okay? Is Phyllis dead? Is Phyllis no? Is Phyllis alive? Is Phyllis alive, Nick? And he goes, how do you know about Phyllis? Just come, Nick, come. Nick goes over there, and Nick pissed me off so bad, everybody. Oh, did Nick piss me off? Walks in the door. She's is Phyllis? No, I think she may have said, "Is Phyllis dead? Is Phyllis dead? Is Phyllis?" He goes, "Phyllis is unconscious on the way to the hospital." But like I said, how do you know about Phyllis? I got something I gotta tell you, Nick. I did it. I did it. I did it. And he goes, "How could you have been involved with Phyllis's accident?" Like, well, I didn't see your car, but Chance, while they were there, he told Nick, he goes, okay, there are two sets of tire marks here. Somebody else ran Phyllis off the road and drove away. Right? And Nick is like, who could do this? If I find the person that did this to Phyllis, oh, well, now you got somebody telling you she did this to Phyllis. And he's like, she goes, I need Chance. I need Chance to come so I can talk to you both at the same time. He goes, no, no. You talk to me first. And then I will decide if we need to talk, if you need to talk to Chance. And I thought, okay, Nick, right? So she sits down. Oh, I'm just so tired. The guilt, I can't handle it anymore. And she goes, I have to tell you something. I have to tell you. And he goes, Sharon, calm down. Do you want me to make you some tea? And I said, oh, see, that's at the point I was ready to strangle Nick. This woman is trying to tell you something, and you keep interrupting and you want to talk about tea? Shut up and let her talk. So she goes, no, I don't want any tea. I need to talk to you. And he goes, well, okay. She goes, but you won't let me. And he goes, okay, okay, tell me. Phyllis was right. And he goes, about what? Phyllis was right about everything. I did kill Heather. You see that first picture in the center there with Nick kind of got his mouth open? He's like, what? What? Like, wait, huh? And Sharon broke it down from why start to finish, from everything from July on, and how she tried to poison the whole thing. Nick, you see that last picture on the corner there? Nick is kind of like, who are you? You know, do I need to scoot over? And so he's like, didn't know what to really say. And she goes, but I don't know why I let this go this far, Nick. And oh, she's, I don't know why. And Nick is like, okay, like, and I'm thinking, Now, if this were Phyllis, what would you do? You'd be telling Phyllis, you have to answer for your you got to pay for your consequences, or take the consequences for your actions. That's what you'd be saying, Phyllis, right? And so Sharon sits up and Nick stands up. And then Sharon stands up and she goes, so now, Nick, do you think we need to call Chance now? And Nick is just standing there. And I thought, you can't cover this up like you did that was it, Ashlyn Locke for Victoria. See, you can't cover this up. So we'll see what in fact Nick does. Now Billy presses Jill to tell him what's happened, what's the skinny, because she told him. He goes, Lily's contract is ready for her to sign, and Jill says, no, there's no need for that, because she told Billy, we'll talk after the wedding. So right after the I do's, Billy was all on her. Okay, the wedding is over. What is going on? Because before the wedding, when Jill says, no, Billy, we'll talk after the wedding, he goes to Victor. He goes, I know you've had something to do with Abbott Chancellor. And Victor says, do you know where you're at? You are at your niece and my daughter's wedding. You will not disrupt this. And Billy just looks at him. And he turns and he walks away. And he sits back to Jill. He goes, you need to tell me. She goes, not now, Billy. Now is the time. He goes, not now. So he sits back. And I'm thinking, see, he didn't care if he would have ruined Abby's wedding or not. Didn't care. Right? Now Lily walks in. She's there. Nate brought Audra. and the little actor that plays their son, you could tell he doesn't do much acting because he was really afraid to even do execute what he was supposed to do, you know. But he made it through his little part. So anyway, oh, and ooh, his sister, oh my goodness, I can't think of her name right now. She sung a beautiful song. Oh my goodness, that was beautiful. She did a really, really good job. Um, so anyway, after Jill says, look, the reason why there's no need for a contract from Lily is I had a meeting with Victor. Well, she told him she had the meeting with Victor, which is why he went up to Victor. But I had no choice, Billy. And he goes, wait a minute. He goes, what do you mean you have a choice? There's always a choice, mother. Because he could sense where that was going. Because there's always a choice. And you gave me specific instructions and I followed them to the letter. Phyllis is fired. Lily is back. So she goes, too little, too late. Goes, what? She goes, too little, too late, Billy. I am selling Chancellor to Victor. And he goes, you can't do that. You can't do that. I've done everything. And now he's at the wedding talking to his mother. And she goes, I can, and I've already done it, Billy. I've given you chance after chance after chance. You are just not up to the task, Billy. You're not. She says, and I have to do what's right for me. I have to do what's right for my health. And that is to walk away from it. And he goes, well, you could still, be where you're at. And Lily and we could take it to new heights. He goes, no. She goes, no. Victor is going to take it to the heights that Catherine would approve of. Victor will do that. And he goes, you can't do this to me. She goes, I can, and I have. You don't know how much this hurts me. Oh, it doesn't hurt you. She goes, yes, it does, Billy. It does, believe it or not. But reality is, I have to look out for my health. And oh, he goes storming out. This isn't over, mother. And she's thinking, whatever. So she sits there and she's, anguished a bit and worried. And Victor was looking at the whole thing like, right. And Victoria was watching. She couldn't hear, but she's watching Billy's reaction. And she goes running after him. Billy, Billy, what's going on? He goes, your father is what's going on. Well, this isn't over. And he goes storming away from Victoria, and she's looking like, oh no, oh my God, this is what I didn't want to happen. So Lily then comes up to Jill, and she sits down and she talks to her. She goes, well, Billy was telling me I needed to come and convince you that I am coming back, to reassure you. And that's what I'm here to do. She says, well, darling, there's no need for reassurance. She goes, what are you talking about? Because there is no you coming back to Chancellor. And she goes, wait, what? And Jill said, I'm selling Chancellor to Victor Newman. And she goes, and Lily, you need to work with your family. And Lily looks at her. She goes, wait, Jill, no, how can you do this? We were a team, you and I. After all of these years, how could you just sell the company out from under us? She goes, I was going to work back with Billy. She goes, Lily, I'm doing this for my health. Okay. I have to do this. I have to. And Lily just looks, Billy said, and so Jill says, so look, what I need you to do is just understand this. I did appreciate the job you did. Loved you working for me. But I have to look out for my future, my health future. Hanging on to Chancellor It is not in my best interest. You have to trust me in that. And so Lily just sits there, almost like, well, when you put it that way, I mean, I can't say, well, hang on to it till you die, right? She knew she couldn't do that, right? So Lily just sits there. And then we have Diane walks up to Kyle and she says, Kyle, I need to talk to you. And Kyle was standing there talking to Audra, no, not Audra, Jack and Claire, and somebody else was there, and I can't remember who. And he goes, turn and he looked, he goes, well, look, for one thing, Diane. And she goes, Diane, yeah, Diane, we have nothing to talk about. And I'm busy talking to who I want to talk to. So she goes, well, you need to make time, Kyle, because this is important. And she looks at him and she turns and she steps a few steps back away, looking at him. And he turns to everybody. He's like, the nerve of her. And Victor's standing there, like almost wrenching his hands, looking at this whole thing. See, like pulling puppet master, pulling all the strings, right? And he looks, and Diane looks Kyle, and Claire says, Kyle, just go talk to her. He goes, excuse me, everyone, this won't take long. So he goes over to Diane. He goes, make it quick, because I need to get back. And she says, okay, Kyle, I am now the CEO of Glissade. And he looked at her. She goes, and my first order of action is, you're fired. And he goes, what? And she goes, yep. And he starts to explode, but not explode, because he goes, you're lying. He goes, you are lying. She goes, no, Victor can confirm it. And he looked over at Victor, and Victor, because he's a little ways away in the room, he's just looking at him. So he goes to Victor. He goes, tell me this is not true. Tell me that. He goes, your mother is now the CEO of Glissade. And he goes, because my mother says I'm fired. He goes, and if your mother, she's in charge, and if she wants to fire you, I have nothing to do with that. He goes, so deal with your mother. Kyle walks back over, and Jack is just, I think it was Tracy. Tracy was there too. Tracy's like, right? And so he walks back to, by Claire. He goes, I've got to get out of here. She goes, okay, let's go. Let's just go. So she has her little rap, and he brushes past Diane. And, but before it happened, before she told, no, 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 as Jack is going by her, he made it like he was angrily going to go say something to her. He goes, it's almost over. It's almost over now. Hang in there. Hang in there. And then he walks out the door, and Diane just walks around the side, you know. And I thought, okay, for sure they're in cahoots. So Kyle and Claire make it to the Abbott house, and Kyle tells her, look, I'm gonna go check in on Harrison. Because she goes, do you need a, he goes, why don't you pour us a drink? Let me go check in on Harrison. She says, okay. Well, Jack and Diane come walking in the house. And Diane is helping Jack off with his coat. And I'm thinking, well, for one thing, chick, it should be the other way around. He need to be helping you off with your coat. Um, and Claire looks, she goes, excuse me, what's going on here? Right? And Kyle comes down the stairs Why did you let her in this house? And Diane says, because we have to talk to you. I don't want to ever talk to her again. And Jack says, you need to hear this. And Kyle looked at him. He goes, Diane said, it was all a ruse. We needed for you to see that you were only a pawn, Kyle. We needed to get you away from Victor. And he just looked at them like, how could you? Oh, oh, remember, he's so smug. He's so smart. He could outsmart any old folk. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Kyle. Any old body can manipulate you. So now we have Billy talking to Sally. They're boo-hoo, boo-hoo about his mother, about his mother. Well, my mother could do this, and yikes. Fast forward. So, now we're going to deal with next week. That's it for the weekly recap. Aside from the fact that I still don't, I told you I don't like what's happening with that Amy character. Apparently, she worked for Paul and and his partner at that time when Paul had his private investigator or detective's office or practice. So that's where Amy comes from. She actually is a character from way back when. Now let's go to Comment Corner. Comment Corner. Comment Corner. We have Lynn says hi. Claire says, where did Amy get a lock of her son's hair from? I know. Was it from his baby book? Really? I thought, or maybe from his first haircut. I thought she said she hadn't seen him in years. The Newman's house is so 80s. I don't like it at all. I guess it's okay if you like all the wood. I hate all the wood. I don't know how much more of the Sharon storyline I could take. Sharon is looking weird as well. Yeah, I mean, it has to be getting to the actual actress playing this part because come on now. I don't see how Sharon can come back from this. Actually, she should not be able to, but they're going to write it that she does. Of course, we're bringing back magical, mystical Jordan. She could slither through jail cell bars. Denzel says, here comes Summer being jealous when she saw Claire's bag. And then killing the vibe for both Kyle and Claire was going to they were going to hit the bed and sheets because she forgot her phone, blah, blah. Like, why would you leave your phone at Kyle's house in the first place? Yeah, Summer still has feelings for Kyle, doesn't want anybody to be happy with him. To me, I'm happy that Kyle and Claire are getting close together. So go somewhere with that Claire and focus on, you mean Summer, and focus on your dude who arrested your brother, Daniel, and who'd gotten framed, and stop always being in Kyle's personal life. Great review, daily recap. Again, as always, great. And then Denzel comes back. This is probably another day after. I loved when Victor surprised Nikki, saw her another day before, saw her eyes open about the ranch Victor rebuilt, and there were flashbacks, and his kids were surprised to see it too. I like the scenes between Victor and Devon. What kind of pissed me off is when Nikki and Victoria was just giving Adam the look when he was out, when she was out by the other way, when he was leaving out. But other than that, last week's episode of The Young and the Restless, including Victor and Adam, giving Adam the old house. We offered it to him too, like he offered it to Nick. But why didn't he offer it to Victoria? I have no idea. She should have been first. Great review, daily recaps as always. Yes, I didn't like the way Vicky and Nikki looked when Victor said nice stuff about Adam. Victor should have put his foot down behind that crap. See, stop it, y'all. You guys are always talk about how bad Adam is, but you push him there and then say, see, after you pushed him there. Dito says, hi, daily recap lady. Amy Lewis worked in the private investigator's office with Paul and Andy. Blanking on Andy's last name right now, but he was played by Steve Ford, who was President Gerald Ford's son. Oh, really? Anyway, I don't wait, I'm not sure how much investigating Amy did because I was still in high school at the time. But I know she had the knowledge of how to find someone. The other thing is that they're saying that she has leukemia or cancer, whatever she says she had, going blank on the specifics. Well, then why are you back in town and supposedly going to take the chief of police's job? I didn't, well, look, I fast forwarded most of it, so I can't tell you why she said she was back in town. I thought she was back in town to bring some of Neil's stuff to, or not Neil, some of Nathan's stuff to Nate. I just don't think this boy or son of hers is related to Nate. Me either. I'm not sure what kind of con she's running, but it is definitely a Josh Griffin rewrite storyline. Yeah, that doesn't smell right at all. The storyline with Heather being killed is absolutely ridiculous. I never liked the character, so I don't really care that she's dead. But I am so sick of these mental health storylines being connected to murder and all that stuff. It's insulting. Besides, I totally blame Phyllis, Heather, Daniel, and Summer for not seeing that Lucy was struggling socially. Three out of the four adults did not have jobs in the last 6 months. So why weren't they scheduling activities and things group things like that for Lucy during the summer? I know they dropped the ball, and that makes me irritable. Oh, that makes them irresponsible parents. LOL. Yes, I'm a little judgy on Daniel and Heather because I don't like them. I don't really like them either at all. Brooklyn says, hi, Daily Recap lady. One of Jill's brothers, Snapper, was a doctor. The other was Greg, if I'm correct, was a lawyer. Oh, okay. Wasn't Psycho Sharon the one who burned down the Newman Ranch back then? Yes, it was Sharon. She burned down that house. Anita says, Daily Recap lady. Amy worked for Paul Williams as a secretary when he had his PI detective agency before Paul worked for the police department. Jones says Victoria was the oldest and should have first right to the rebuilt house because besides the largest family. Very odd she wasn't offered it. I think so too. I don't like that. And then Jones says, agree, that house is too dark and depressing. And then we have to, uh-oh, what happened to my comment corner? Too dark and depressing. Yolanda says, tired of this Sharon mess. She is so beautiful. Stop messing with her face. Yeah, she gets a lot of work done. Oh, too much. Um, Natonia says, it's dark and gloomy to me. That the new house, I know. DL says, the Newman Ranch looks good. Oh, you like that? Anyone else like the mirror effect? The front door, it was on the opposite side of the what of the house. Come on, my mouse is not scrolling down. Okay, opposite side. And then I am says, I stopped watching the Sharon storyline. It's ridiculous. She won't go to jail. Just sickening that no one sees she's off her rocker. I know. Claire says, I totally agree. I'm sick of the Sharon storyline. It's beyond ridiculous. Well, that's it for Comic Corner for the Young and the Restless. I will be back next weekend for a weekly recap of the Young and the Restless.